Chapter 5. Just as Obsidian darted into the night air, a werewolf jumped 3 meters into the air, fastened itself onto Obsidian's tail, and howled a bone-piercing scream. The werewolf was holding on with sheer determination as Obsidian snapped his tail back and forth, trying to dislodge the furry bloodsucker, the unwelcome traveler, the monstrous creature of the night. Yet this creature was strong. It held on and even managed to climb Obsidian's tail in order to get closer to Soan and Joe, who were sitting targets for the monster behind them. The furry monster with its red eyes glared at the two riders.
Urge your dragon to stop, or I will toss you down to the ground. Do you understand?
The werewolf remained firmly attached to Obsidian's tail, even as the dragon continued to snap his tail to and from. Obsidian could hear the commotion behind but couldn't understand what the werewolf was saying.
"What's happening back there?"
He asked, urgency in his tone.
"We need to go back down,"
Soan shouted. Soan was the closest to the slow-climbing werewolf. Thus, they would be first to be knocked to the ground in a crumpled mess, and Joe would be next.
"Will the werewolf let go of my tail then?"
Obsidian yelled back to Soin and Joe.
"Yes, of course."
Soin screamed. Joe turned to Soin, shaking his head.
The werewolf didn't make any promises. It didn't say that.
"We don't care. We don't want to fall and die, which is our current predicament."
Joe yelled as loud as he knew how.
Can you shake your tail harder?
"No,
Obsidian admitted.
not without you two falling off."
Okay, let's go down then and see if we can knock the damn thing off with a treetop or a boulder.
Joe said. Oriole suddenly flew up beside Obsidian.
You know you have a werewolf on your tail, right?
"Can you give him a little heat to make him jump?"
Sure, but I can't guarantee I won't burn your tail in the process.
"I'm okay with that."
Obsidian said.
"Follow me down. I'll go gradually. Keep that red-eyed fur monster distracted, and when we get within range, I'll let you know when to fire. Literally. I'll go down low enough so jumping won't seem like such a bad option for the furry beast."
Oriole nodded.
Understood.
She next turned away and made a circular turn, taking up a position behind the werewolf and slightly to its right side. As she did, the werewolf swung around to watch her.
You're the one in the tree that was spying on us,
The werewolf said, its voice harsh. Oriole had no interest in striking up a conversation with the werewolf, though she knew it would be a good way to keep the werewolf distracted from their objective.
Yes, it was me. What of it?
She said in a sacrificial tone.
Don't even think of belching your flames in my face. If you do, I will sink my fangs into this tail so deep that this scaly beast will throw off all its cargo, and everyone knows that those two-leggeds are soft sacks of blood. They'll be dead. Me, on the other hand, I'll be just fine. So don't try anything, or I will bring them to a bloody end.
What do you want?
Oriole asked.
I want this beast to land so we can talk.
About what?
A proposition.
Go on.
The werewolf howled instinctively and seemingly for no particular reason. When it finished, it set its red, menacing eyes on Oriole.
We want to borrow your dragon.
Well, first of all, he's not my dragon. Second of all, you're a werewolf. Third, you're threatening to kill us. Fourth, you're just a horrible-looking creature. Fifth, you're a werewolf.
I get it. It will be light in a short while. I transform in the daylight into a pretty normal werewolf. I'm reasonable, non-violent, and willing to negotiate almost anything. If we land, I promise not to hurt you or any of your friends. If you promise the same, that is, that you will not hurt me.
Oriole considered the statement. The werewolf was actually well-spoken. That surprised her, given its beastly looks.
I will discuss your proposition with my associates. Please stay where you are and do not bite that tail. Agreed?
The werewolf nodded and then wagged one of its bony fingers.
Do not try anything unkind to me.
When Oriole got alongside Obsidian's head, he glanced at her with curiosity.
I thought you were keeping that thing distracted so we could knock it off my tail.
It has a proposition.
A what?
A proposition.
If it's anything other than he will be getting off my tail and leaving us alone, I'm not interested in his proposition.
Oriole smiled and tilted her head toward Obsidian, lowering her voice.
It's quite articulate, the werewolf. Claims it'll be light soon, and it'll transform into a more presentable werewolf.
Really?
Obsidian observed.
It's a very low bar, he chuckled under his breath.
Perhaps, but what it's proposing is that we land, wait for his transformation, and then he wants to propose a trade of sorts.
A trade? What sort of trade?
The werewolves want you to help them with something.
And what do we get in return?
I didn't ask. That's why we need to land and just talk.
Well, that's usually what a trade means. I do something for them, and they do something for us.
The werewolf, didn't actually use the term trade. It was like they wanted to borrow you.
Obsidian slowed up and took a quick glance at the werewolf, who was quietly looking down, presumably happy to see they were in a descent.
I'm sure it's for an important project of theirs,
Oriole said.
Maybe it's worth listening to their proposition before I blast that fur monster with fire and the werewolves become our sworn enemies, not to mention that I will burn your tail in the process. After all, we don't know how long we'll be in this situation. It might be good to have them as partners.
Obsidian replied, deep in thought.
Ask Soen what they think. If they agree, I'll land, and we can discuss its proposition. In the meantime, I'll continue my slow descent.
Oriole nodded in agreement. She adjusted her speed slightly until she was even with Joe and Soen.
What's happening, Oriole?
Joe asked.
What's the plan to get rid of that beast?
We are going to land.
Oriole said.
The werewolf has agreed not to harm us if we agree not to harm it. Do I have your agreement?
Joe began to nod his head, taking a quick glance back to Soen, where a werewolf, holding tightly to the tail of a dragon, stared menacingly into his eyes, a mere 8 meters away.
I agree. And you, Soen?
Obsidian will defend us once we land.
Soen asked.
Yes, of course, both of us will. It's one werewolf. We are well beyond our camp. They couldn't possibly have tracked us in the night.
Soen smirked slightly.
The creature has howled twice for no reason. But what if there was a reason? What if he was passing coordinates to his pack? We could land, and there's a greeting party of werewolves waiting for us. Would just the two of you be enough to save us?
He pointed between Joe and themselves.
We'll be fine as long as our landing is brief, and I promise it will be.
Soen took a quick glance back, eyeing the werewolf with indeterminate sight.
We agree. We prefer our chances on the ground, but only with your assurances that it will be a brief landing, and we are back in the air quickly.
Okay, thanks.
Oriole said, beating her wings a little harder to speed up to Obsidian's massive head.
They agree. We just need to be quick about the landing. They don't want us to stay on the ground for too long.
Then tell the werewolf that we will land, and he will have 1 minute to tell us his proposition, and we will take no more than 1 minute to discuss and decide. Okay?
Oriole nodded.
Understood.
She made a circular path to the back of the dragon.
So, what is it?
The werewolf asked.
A savage bite to the tail and certain death for those blood sacks, or a civil conversation about a reasonable proposal where no one gets hurt?
We will meet with you after we land. You will have 1 minute to make your proposal. We will take 1 minute to discuss it among ourselves and give you our answer. Afterward, we agree to part company. Those are our terms.
The werewolf licked a long red tongue across its lips.
You don't want to wait for me to transform into the reasonable version and let that version of me conduct the negotiations? This is not a simple proposal. It will take time to make sense of it. If you think it can all be done in 2 minutes, I can tell you now that you are mistaken.
We don't intend to stay on the ground for more than 2 minutes.
Oriole quipped.
And why not?
The werewolf asked.
Because we don't trust you, and your howling could be a way for you to direct your pack to our position. No more howling while you are with us. Otherwise, the deal is off, and I will incinerate you with great accuracy.
The werewolf laughed.
I like you. You could be one of us, with a little more fur.
It laughed again.
Your lack of trust is understandable, but you have a dragon. Even if my entire pack were down there waiting when we landed, you still have a dragon, and we would be fools to attack. Also, my howls are like ticks. I can't control them. They're spontaneous aspects of my biology, at least for the male of my species.
Oriole sighed.
I will tell the dragon that we have an agreement. If you can convince us it is safe for us to spend more than 2 minutes with you,
Oriole paused.
then we will.
The werewolf reluctantly agreed to the terms, and Oriole told Obsidian that everyone was in agreement. Land for 2 minutes, and then part ways peacefully. The dragon and its 3 passengers landed in the middle of a large field, chosen for its long sight lines that would give them warning of any attack. However, only the werewolves knew how fast they could run, presuming they were motivated. And they were motivated.